Prospecting. In this segment, you're going to learn how and why to prospect. Now, your goal in prospecting, the number one goal, is to get to the highest qualified decision maker. Doesn't mean, that this has to be a CEO. Some people tell you, oh, you need to talk to the CEO or the CFO. That's BS, really. You need to be able to go to the decision maker, and many times you will find that is not the CEO. Now, keep in mind that what you want to do in your prospecting is you want to make it as warm as possible. A cold call, and we're going to talk about the techniques, great techniques, but it still stays more difficult than somebody who already knows you from a fair, from a common contact, whatever it is. So you want to make sure that you do a smart way of prospecting and get to somebody where you actually know that they have already an interest or some point of contact. One thing to keep in mind here is that something that most people don't know that has to do with follow-up, which is it takes 8 to 12 points of contacts, calls, online, whatever it is, until you can sell. Now, 8 to 12 contacts, that means you have to either ask or get in front of them in some way. And that's also why a warm contact is much better than a cold contact, because he has to say many times no before he's actually gonna say yes. Now, is it a numbers game? Well, yes, you bet it is. And it is a numbers game in two ways, really. First, it's a numbers game because for the big majority of prospects, they're kind of content. It's around 60%. They're content with what they have right now. But they would be open if you ask them, are you fine with what you have? Yeah, I'm happy, I'm content. But they would be open to it. Then there's 20% who are really absolutely just with their provider. There's no way you're gonna get them away from that. And then there's 20% you're really pissed off and is ready to buy from somebody else. Now, most salespeople make the mistake of only trying to sell to the ones who are already, obviously pissed off. Don't make this mistake, because it really reduces your funnel of people you can sell to. And instead, make sure that you sell at least to those 60% as well. Gives you 80% of people that you can sell to. It's also a numbers game because I get around 10% of the people I have an appointment with to actually buy. Well, okay, how many people do I need to sell, and at which price? Pricing by itself is a different topic, but say you want to make $100,000 dollars a year or a month, whatever it is, then you have to think, okay, 100,000, that means either I have a product for 100 and 1,000 customers, or it means I have 100 customers, but I sell it for €1,000. Now, you need to know exactly the ratio that you usually have, to sell, and obviously you want to improve that ratio, and that's what you're here for. But you want to know that so that you actually know, well, how many times do you have to pick up the phone and make calls based on the lists that you're having. All right, let's look a little bit into how many calls you should make, and this really is a difficult one because it depends what you want to do. If you're a full-time sales person, if you're an entrepreneur, if this is just a part of what you're doing and you're doing it on the side. But what I can tell you is, no matter in which stage you are, you want to do a specific amount of time of prospecting every day. It's like building this muscle. It's like working out, and it is a difficult one because it's not nice to deal with all those lists, and that it's a tedious work, really. You want to make sure that you do 1 or 2 hours of this every day at least. Now, if we think about all this, there's really a couple of realizations we're having. Number one, that it is a numbers game. And number two, no matter how good you are, you will always have somebody who will not buy. So the simple notion of rejection is something that you just need to disregard completely. You cannot feel bad about it, because otherwise, you're gonna do less and less of cold calls, less and less of prospecting, and it's just wearing you out. So don't make that mistake. Now, if we look into how much work, because that's a question I get all the time, how much work is it actually to do this prospecting, and how many calls do I have to make? Well, first of all, it's around 10 times more work than you actually consider it is. It's a lot of work, and that's why you want to get on it really, really fast. You want to make one call after the other. You don't want to even put the phone down. You don't want to talk to your colleagues about how it went, how it didn't went. This is a numbers game, and there is only so much you can change about it. So what you want to do is actually, you want to make sure you have sick lists that really get you where you want to be, and then you want to work on those sales presentation skills to make sure that you actually get all of them through, and then you can start treating it like a real numbers game, because from then on, if you have good skills, you can actually calculate exactly how much work it is and how much sales you're going to make, and that's where you want to be. You want to have predictability of your income. Now let's look a little bit into whom to actually call, because there's a lot of different ideas out there of whom you should call. Again, I mentioned earlier, some sales experts tell you only call the CEO because he's in the end the decision maker. That's bullshit. Most B2B sales are not made by the CEO, not even influenced by it. Instead, there is a study that shows that businesses that have over 500 people working with them have up to 7 influencers and decision makers involved in every decision that they make. So that actually means now that you're not just going to talk to one single decision maker, but you're going to talk to many of them. And I will teach you the exact strategies and techniques to make sure that you know who exactly is the decision maker, and also to make sure that you find out whom to really talk and target to. Now, do you wanna call clients that you already have with a new product, for example, or do you wanna talk to new ones? Well, you wanna do both, but it is a fact that the second sale is easier, much easier than the first sale, because they already have one thing. What is it, do you think? It is trust. They already have trust in you. Hopefully you service them well. Hopefully you went this extra mile with them, because then it will be so much easier to sell them again. Let's now look a little bit into where to actually get lists from. And if you're anything like me, you probably don't want to do this tedious job all by yourself, but you want to have some sort of help. Now, a word of caution, it depends on which country you are and the laws of the specific country, how data and privacy is handled. Now, in some countries, it's totally fine to buy such lists. In others, it wouldn't. So I would advise you to actually check your laws and then Google it simply and see, are there lists that are valuable. And here, another word of caution, there's a lot of products out there that sell you basically lists, but those lists are not really targeted to what you're doing, and you will soon realize that they don't have a lot of value for you. But what you can do is you can use services in countries where it's allowed, like for example Hoover, eGrabber, or Sales Genie, that help you build those lists. Another way to actually come up with it is if you look into the competition, and the competition has either followers on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on any other social media. If they make events and you go to these events as well and get their lists, that's really, really good ones, because you can know that actually these persons have an interest in your product if you offer something very similar to what your competition is offering. What you could also do is you could actually look into specific groups on LinkedIn or on Facebook or whatever it is that have a specific topic that these people will be interested in. And again, disclaimer, check the laws first, but there are systems that allow you to grab the data of everybody who's in a specific group. Now, in general, if we leave social a little bit on the side, what you can also do, of course, is always go through the list that you have already in your company, be it the dormant accounts, be it accounts that the company could not sell to in the past, but that are somewhere in your CRM. And you can of course sell to the customers that you already have. And finally, there's one tool that I like a lot, which is the Sales Navigator tool on LinkedIn that really helps you again targeting very well to a specific user, to a specific title that this person has in a specific company, in a specific country, because that's really what you want. You want to have very targeted lists. The more targeted your lists are, the easier it will be to pick up the phone and talk to, because they will actually have an interest in what you want to tell them.